What's going on, guys? So I wanted to do a second part 2 video on Sava, S-A-V-A. I know some of you guys are playing the moving average strategy. For some of you guys that are watching this for the first time on YouTube, I have a Discord. That link is down in the description box below, as well as a whole trading course. I got like 22 videos on there showing you kind of how I trade, how I come up with these pivots, stocks that I'm watching, and how to trade channels and certain levels and all that stuff. So if you want to check that out, that's down in the description box below. However, so we have two strategies that we're actively working in Evolution Traders. The pivot point on Sava was 106.28. Obviously, this got confirmed and ran up a couple points, actually 3 points after that. But let me take this off just because this video is going to be on the moving average pivot here. So we did get our buy signal at the 8 o'clock hour candle. My system uses the 1 hour time frame about 80% of the time. The only other time frame that I'm ever going to watch is the 5 minute. Normally, I'm watching the hours, the hour candles pass by. So in this case, 8 a.m., we did get a entry point, or we did get a pivot at 105.47. This came at 8 o'clock. On the 8 o'clock candle. So 9 o'clock, what we're looking for here is the confirmation of 105.47. This is going to be our entry here at 9 o'clock, not at 8 o'clock, at 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock hour candle, what we're looking for is confirmation of 105.47. This is where we would have taken entry long. Where could we have used stop? The stop is going to be the same for almost every strategy. It's going to be either a break below the moving average, or it's going to be the entry candle's low. So in this case, entry candle's low is 104.50. That is a dollar risk. If you're not happy with that, or you can't stomach a dollar risk to let this trade work out, this strategy is not going to be for you. But, we have to know where we're going to stop out at before we enter in the trade. Okay. We cannot take a trade and we do not know where to stop out. We cannot take a trade and be asking, where do we stop out? Should we stop out? Should we, what should we do? If you're asking those type of questions, you shouldn't be taking the trade. So we have to already know where we're going to stop out. Trading is a numbers game. You're going to lose as many times as you win. The whole goal is to make more money than you're losing. If you start looking at it as a numbers game, let's say you take 50 trades, you already know you're going to lose 25 of them. However, on the 25 winners, you need to be pulling more points out of the market than you're losing. And if you don't know where your stop is at, and sometimes you're losing 1 point, sometimes you're losing 50 cents, sometimes you hold and you make a mistake and now you're down 2, 3, 4 points and now you sell, you're going to need more trades to kind of win those losses back. So any strategy, I don't care what strategy it is, they're all going to win. They're all going to lose. The stock market, you have a 50-50 chance. You could literally buy a stock anywhere. You could buy here and it can move higher and you can make money. You can buy here and it can move lower and you lose money. You can buy on this big green, elephant bar candle here, and you would have made money here. Or you could have bought here and you could have lost money here. So it's literally 50-50. You need to have a strategy. You need to have a plan. So with that being said, we did get a pivot point here at 105.47. We already know our stop going into this trade before we click the buy button is 104.50. You have to be okay with that. So 9 o'clock candle comes. Not only do we get that confirmation, we take our entry here, and from 105.47, we immediately run up in the same hour to 109.17. Guys, that's a 3-point move and some change. I'm a firm believer in, if you take 100 shares at 50 cents, at 40 cents, at 60 cents, you have to mentally in your head say, I'm taking cash flow. I'm taking cash flow, whether that's out of your 100 shares, that's 50 shares you're taking off the table, whether that's 25 shares you're taking off the table. But every 50-cent move, or around about that number, because the stocks that we play generally are over $100. So we have to get into the mindset that if we get that first initial push of 50 cents, 60 cents, 75 cents, we need to take off some size. We need to take off some size. We need to lock in some profits, and immediately our stop is going to come from 104.50 now to break even. Okay. Just like that, just that seamless. Okay. So now we're not giving ourselves any dollar risk here. In fact, if this stock was to go up 75 cents and we took profits, on, let's say 50 shares out of our 100 at, 50 cents. We locked in those profits. We moved our stop to break even. If the stock was to retrace on the same candle and come down, we would stop out and it would still be a winning trade. And we can go look to trade this stock later and or look for another stock and another setup. However, after those 50, after that 50 cents, after you just take that quick cash flow off, you move your stop to break even. I would recommend to start taking profits every $1 to $1.50 off the table. So as this moved from 105.47 at about 106 and some change, you should have locked in those 50 cents, 60 cents. As it moved up here to 106.65, which is now $1, you see it riding up 107. I would have taken another 10, 20 shares, 30 shares off. As it rose another $1 here to 108, I would have probably either sold my whole position or sold out 80-90% of it and just held a very, very small piece as a runner and just moved my stop up with that, probably, to a next channel high here, maybe 106.99. So if we did come and stop below 106.99, I would just break even and I would have still made a little bit of money on those runners. So that's just a quick example here on Sava, how we could have played the moving average strategy here, and how we would have set up our stop before we entered into this trade and where we would have entered this trade. Now, let's say, for example, that this broke the pivot, broke your entry, you got in, it rode up 20, 30 cents, and then immediately started to back trace, started to come back in, broke below the candle, okay, that we entered on, broke below that low, broke below the moving average, and started to work its way down here, we would stop out. And that's it. And that's it. Whether we came right here and then we just immediately, formed a tail and shot back up 20, 30 points, doesn't matter, because, it doesn't matter. This stock could, choose to stop here and spring back. This stop could have stopped here, new candle could have formed, and it could have continued to build below. And now you're stuck in a losing trade. And now you're asking yourself, why didn't you stop out when you should have? So it's a numbers game, guys. When a stock is meant to go and when it's meant to run, it's going to run. Your stop would have never came into play here. You could have potentially took 1, 2, 3, 4 points out of this trade and never came even close to hitting your stop loss here. On a trade like this, we're not trying to win the lottery. We're not trying to make 10, 15 points. We're trying to make, 1 point, 2 points. 3 points is like a home run. 4 points, you're celebrating. 5 points, forget about it. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But just start getting in the habit of taking, 50 cents, 75 cents. If you get that first push, 50 cents, 75 cents, extremely fast. Take some size off the table, 25 shares, 35 shares, 50 shares, even half size, depending on how much you're playing. If you're an options player, let's say you take 3 contracts, maybe at that first 50 cents, 75 cents, you take 1 contract off. It pushes up $1, $1.50, $2. You take another contract off, you move it to break even, or you set a trailing stop on it. But I just wanted to do a recap because Sava did give us 2 plays today. The pivot point from the watch list came into play, as well as the moving averages strategy came into play as well. So congratulations if you guys took this trade. I was a part of this trade. Let me know if you guys were or not. But other than that, I'm going to try to make a little bit more training videos in depth like this, kind of showing you guys where you would enter and, where you would stop out. Cause I think it kind of helps. The more times you see something play out, the more times we can back test a strategy, the more comfortable you get. I think a lot of times as newer traders or when you're learning a specific strategy or a new strategy, you kind of get caught up and you start doubting yourself. Maybe you see it break the pivot. You should have entered down here and now the price is way up here and you said, you know what? Oh, okay, I'm going to buy. And then now you're buying at 2 or 3 points above the pivot and this candle forms and then it comes all the way back down. And now you're in a losing trade because you did not know when to buy. You weren't comfortable with your strategy. You weren't comfortable with your stop. You didn't know where your stop was. So we got to be comfortable. We got to see this 1,000 times. We got to see it over and over and over. You got to hear it over and over and over.